Hey guys, and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about baby monitors and why I ended up choosing the Infant Optics Dxr-8. Before we get started and get too in depth, I want to go over a quick unboxing to show you guys everything that comes with the Dxr-8. That way, if I reference anything in the video, you know what I'm talking about. When you buy the Dxr-8, you'll get the monitor that controls the camera and has both video and audio feedback. You'll also get two charging cables, one that's 10 foot long and one that's 3 foot long, along with a USB charging block. In addition, you'll get the camera itself and AC power adapter that plugs into the camera. You'll also get an additional zoom lens that could come in handy depending on the layout and size of your room. Two things that came with the baby monitoring system but aren't pictured are the mounting hardware, which I didn't use because I'll show you a few better options for mounting, and the rechargeable battery for the monitor. Both these will be addressed later in the video, along with everything else more in depth. There are also a bunch of papers and manuals that come with it, but as Marie Kondo says, if it doesn't spark joy, get rid of it. So if you're in the market for a baby monitor, it's more than likely going to fall under four main categories. The four categories are audio only, video and audio being controlled by your smartphone, video and audio being controlled by an external monitor, or there are some options, such as the owlet, that can be worn by the baby. So it was a tough choice between choosing cameras that are being controlled by your smartphone and being controlled by an external monitor. What I ended up choosing was video and audio being controlled by an external monitor. And here's why. We didn't just want a baby monitor with audio. We wanted to have the option to be able to see our baby without having to go in and check on him. It's nice having a constant audio feed into your baby's room. With some smartphone apps, that's hard to do, especially if you're going to be doing it all night. I've heard stories about some apps just closing right out, and then they don't open back up, so you don't know what's going on in your baby's room. The nice thing about the Dxr-8 is it's constantly connected, no issues at all. If it ever loses connection, it keeps trying to get connected. With some smartphone apps, once they lose connection, they just close out and you're no longer connected. Also, cameras that use your smartphone make it really hard to use your phone and monitor the baby at the same time. If you have a monitor that connects to your smartphone, you end up just draining your phone battery a lot more. We also wanted a simple solution in case we had a babysitter. Since the Dxr-8 is controlled by an external monitor, we can just leave that with the babysitter. We don't have to worry about hooking up another device or even the babysitter's phone. For some people, security can be a really big issue. The nice thing about the Dxr-8 is that it uses a wireless transmission, but it doesn't use Wi-Fi. This makes it a lot harder for other people to hack in or gain access to your camera. If you look on Amazon, the Infant Optics Dxr-8 has over 27,000 positive reviews. The next baby monitor that I could find that had audio, video, and was controlled by an external monitor only had about 2,000 reviews, but that fell below 4 stars. 27,000 views is huge on Amazon. There aren't a lot of products on Amazon with that many reviews, let alone baby monitors. Don't get me wrong, it may not have all the bells and whistles that some of the other monitors do have, but it's easily one of the best all-around baby monitors out there. Now that you know why we made the choice we did and went with the Dxr-8, let's take a look at some of the features. All right, first things first, let's start by doing a walk through the monitor and its entire menu. If you look at the top of the monitor, you're gonna find an on-off sleep button. This button is used to turn the monitor on, off, and of course sleep. When you power on the monitor, it connects automatically and quickly every time. It'll also do this from anywhere in the house. Here you can see an example of image quality and decent lighting. If you press the button on top of the monitor once, it'll put the screen to sleep to save battery. While the screen's asleep, you can still listen to a continuous audio feed from the room. Next, let's dive into the main menu by pressing the main menu button. The menu pops up along the bottom of the screen. As you can see, the first thing on the menu is volume. You can adjust the volume up and down using the directional buttons on the monitor. If you bring the volume all the way down, it'll shut off the audio. When we adjust our audio, we usually set it about halfway. The nice thing is if you turn it up all the way, it's loud enough to be heard in another room. It can even wake you up when you're sleeping. The sound quality is decent and you can clearly make out any talking. Another nice thing is the microphone actually does an excellent job of picking up small sounds in the room. There's also a sound activated LED bar that's really helpful if you shut off the screen or you have the volume turned down all the way. All right, next thing on the menu is the brightness. You can adjust the screen brightness by using the directional buttons on the monitor as well. The screen measures about 3.5 inches and it's pretty bright. The quality is good enough to see your baby, but it's not gonna win any awards. To me personally, it looks like a TV from like the 90s or 80s. Third thing on the menu is a timer. This will put the screen to sleep after 3 or 5 minutes. You also can turn off the timer and just put the screen to sleep manually. You can do that using the sleep button on top. Moving right along, fourth thing on the menu is an optical zoom. This feature will allow you to zoom in on your baby if you need to. This does come in handy if your baby's all the way across the room or you're trying to look for small movements or see if your baby's sleeping. Next up is a 2, 4, or 6 hour timer that you can set on the monitor. After the time's up, the monitor will start beeping. Personally, I wish I had a few more options for an alarm, or maybe even allowed you to set your own timer. Continuing on, we have the ability to set up a couple different cameras. Now this only comes with one camera, but if you wanted to, you could connect up to 4 cameras. This is if you wanted to have multiple angles or you wanted cameras in different rooms. Here you can add, view, or scan through different cameras if you have more than one. Last option on the menu is to adjust the volume for alerts, such as low battery, loss of signal, or the timer. When we set it to high, there's a very noticeable beeping every few seconds. This is really helpful if you have a low battery or you get out of range with the monitor. Below the menu button, there's a shortcut feature that allows you to make quick adjustments in volume and screen brightness. The last button on the front of the monitor is a push-to-talk intercom system. You can push this button so you can talk back and forth between the monitor and the camera in the room. When you press the talk button, a microphone icon pops up at the top of the screen. Press and hold the button to talk and then release it when finished. It works well enough that my wife and I find we do use it occasionally. And when our son gets older, it may be a helpful feature as well. A frequently asked question is about charging and the battery life. The Infant Optics Dxr-8 comes with a rechargeable 1200 milliamp hour lithium-ion battery. Personally, when I was running tests, I found it to have great battery life. Charging takes about 5 hours to go from 0 to 100%. The monitor will last 14 hours if you're not using video at all and only using audio. If you use a combination of audio and checking the screen occasionally, I found it will last about 10 to 12 hours. If you leave the screen on all the time, it'll probably only last about 6 hours. So overall, this is plenty of battery life to get you through the whole day. It's also plenty of battery life as long as the monitor is charged to get you through the entire night. We find we're only charging it once every day or every other day. One more helpful tip about charging would be to get a portable charger. We have one by Rav Power. It looks like this. We use it pretty frequently. It helps if you want to charge your monitor or your phone as you move around the house. You're not tied down to one location. They're pretty affordable. We bought ours off of Amazon. I'll put a link below. They're worth the investment. They're super convenient. There is one thing to note. The battery actually has to be installed when you first get the monitor. If you take off the battery cover on the back of the monitor, there's a diagram that shows you exactly how to plug the battery in. Simply match up the colors of the cable attached to the battery to the colors on the diagram and press the end of the cable carefully into the plug. It should go in with not a lot of force if lined up properly. Then just tuck the battery into its slot and slide the cover back on. Last two things we have with the monitor is the kickstand and antenna. We use the kickstand just about every single day. It's nice to prop up the monitor for easy viewing of the screen. The antenna, on the other hand, we don't use every day. It seems to get good enough reception with the antenna down. If you have trouble with reception, you could put it up though. Speaking of range, the range seems to be pretty good. Our house is a little over 2,000 square feet, and we're able to get connected anywhere in the house. We're able to connect the camera down in the basement or on the middle floor in our baby's rooms upstairs. Moving away from the monitor into the camera side of things, one of the cool features about the camera, other than the optical zoom, is the ability to pan and tilt and move the head around so you can look around the room or look around your baby's crib. The head is able to pan or tilt up and down 120 degrees and then side to side 270 degrees. Most cameras don't have this helpful feature. You can change the camera angle using the directional pad on the monitor. Use the left and right arrows to move the camera left and right, and then use the up and down arrows to move the camera up and down. Taking a look at the camera on the front, you'll find an on-off switch. This is used to turn the camera on and off. The camera does have to be plugged into the wall through an AC adapter all the time. It doesn't have a rechargeable battery like the monitor does. On the back, you'll see the plug-in for the AC adapter, the antenna, and then also the microphone and speaker for the unit. Overall, the build quality is pretty good of the camera and the monitor. It's good enough to be used every day. But you'll find it's not the top quality when it comes to baby monitors, but this also helps keep the price down. Make sure you look down below the video for a link to the monitor and camera on Amazon. Here you can see another example of image quality. The image quality does change a little bit when you do shut off the lights. But the nice thing about the Dxr-8 is that it can see into the room when the room is pitch black. Here's an example of the room when it's dark. Now this baby monitor does come with an additional lens. This lens is an optical zoom lens. All you have to do is take off the original lens hood by unscrewing it, and then screw in the optical zoom lens. What you'll find is the optical zoom lens is very similar to the optical zoom that's already in the monitor, but the lens is just a little bit more clear. If you happen to need a wide angle lens, you can also purchase one of those. The wide angle lens will let you see the entire room. If you enjoy drilling giant holes into your wall, you can go ahead and use the plastic anchor that comes with the camera. But if you're like me and want to do something a little less destructive, I found using a drywall screw works a little better. Here's a quick comparison of a hole from a drywall screw on the left and a hole from a plastic anchor on the right. What I used is coarse threaded drywall screws that were about 1.5 inches long. Here's an example of what they look like. Mounting the camera is pretty easy. All you have to do is pick a location, preferably not above the crib. Simply screw the drywall screw into the wall. Make sure the screw isn't flush with the wall. When you're screwing it in, back it out just a little. This gives the camera something to hold on to. If you look at the back of the camera, there's a keyhole slot for mounting. Simply line up the screw and the keyhole slot and then pull down gently into place. We mounted ours a little bit off to the side of the crib. We're not at all worried about the camera falling, but the camera does need to be plugged in all the time, so it's just easier to have the camera off to the side a little bit to manage the cable. You can find a cable tie mount at Walmart or any hardware store. Use the cable tie mount to secure the cable against the wall and away from the baby's crib. If you ever need to switch rooms or rearrange your room, removing the camera is easy. Another thing to note is if you're not interested in putting the camera on the wall, you can just sit it on the shelf. The nice thing about the camera is it does come with rubber pads on the bottom of it. This makes it really easy just to set somewhere, such as a shelf. You might have noticed earlier that the monitor displays the temperature. The camera does have a thermometer that reads the temperature of the room. I have found it to be really accurate. Whenever we set the temperature of the house, the monitor reads the exact same thing. This is maybe helpful if you want to keep the temperature of your baby's room a little different than the rest of the house. There really are a lot of features that make the Dxr-8 great. Between the price, the reliability, all the features, the battery life, it was a pretty easy choice. That's why after spending lots of time looking at baby monitors, I decided to go with it. Also again, I put the link to Amazon down below. Since there are so many cool features, I might have missed some, or you may have some questions. I personally check my comments section and reply to people. Remember, I'm here to help serve you as a viewer. If you need any help at all, I want to hear from you. Comment below. If you enjoyed watching this or found the video helpful, make sure you like the video and subscribe to my channel. That gives me helpful feedback. It also allows others to get help too. Thanks for watching, and if it applies to you, congrats on the baby.